I've been coined LZ, as they call me in Australia. So recently, people are under the impression that I'm no longer welcome in Australia. Kind of a long story, but kind of a short story. I went out with a couple friends over in Australia, and they like to go drive like an hour and a half or so into the mountains, and they go, street drifting in the mountains, which sounds crazy, but to them it's not that crazy of a thing. And it's a kind of tricky situation being a YouTuber in terms of documenting something like that, because it is an illegal activity. Wondering if you're gonna put yourself in jeopardy with the law, or your friends and stuff. And I had spoken to them because this is obviously something really cool, being in Australia and going into these desolate mountains in the middle of nowhere and being able to make videos on it would be really cool. The general consensus was everyone was okay, and they were kind of understood that it might get picked up by the media, because it has happened in the past, especially with my reach and stuff. But anyway, we did go out, we went street drifting, and a friend of mine did end up crashing his car pretty bad. And because of that, the video did a lot better than it probably would have if it was just a normal street drifting video. And I wasn't driving, but I rode in one of my friends who's a really, really good driver that has a JZX 100. Japan had kind of like a bubble where they produced all these ridiculous cars, where we got all our cool old Japanese supercars, or not supercars, but the JDM Icon cars and stuff. And they made these JZX 100 and JZX 90 four-door Toyota sedans with turbo 6-cylinders in them, and they turned out to be great drift cars. So he was driving a JZX 100, and he had took me for a ride, and then right after crashed pretty badly into the tree and got banged up and rode off the car, but he was okay. But they have like a dramatized news channel there that wound up picking up the video and kind of picked and pulled different parts out of this situation and made it sound like we were the worst people on the planet out street drifting, putting children's lives in danger and all this. And they actually framed it in a way where I looked like the victim, because I was kind of talking about the video and like how scary it was and how I got out of the car before it crashed and everything. And I'd actually made some jokes about the situation, because this went so viral. I swear every single car person in Australia was sending me, "Oh dude, I saw you on the TV. Oh dude, I saw you here. I saw this." My biggest concern out of the whole entire situation is, in the United States, if something like that had happened, I would be very much so looked down at for, exposing those people, in terms of if my friends that were out street drifting that were involved got arrested, then it'd be like, oh, I blew up the spot, I ruined it for them. But in Australia, I guess this is such a normal occurring thing that nothing really happens when stuff goes on this news channel, especially because, there were no plates, there was nothing like that. But in this weird way, it got like connected with this Mexican Hoon cartel, which is another group that does really reckless things like burnouts in front of police stations and very, very ignorant things. And those people had actually been arrested, I think, a week before for stuff that they had done. And somehow that got like twisted into where people thought I got my friends arrested in Australia. Australians were super stoked on it. I was like looked at like a hero for making it onto this news channel with all these cool drift guys. And then in the United States, everyone was like, man, you got all those guys arrested. And I was getting crap for it. And I had made a joke about getting banned from Australia. Literally a satirical Instagram post where I wrote to and from was from myself. But I wrote it like pretending to be an Australian police officer, saying I was no longer welcome in Australia. It kind of blew up to the point where I almost wasn't even welcome to drive in Formula Drift, which I'm now doing, because a lot of the rumors and stuff that circulated around that made it look to be like I was a lot more of a criminal in this situation than an automotive journalist. The video of mine really didn't do that well. I think maybe it was like 500 or 600,000 views, which is above average, but it's not like it was a viral video. But once the Facebook stuff started sharing around, just people re-uploading the clip from the TV show, there's got to be a collective like 500,000 views on that news clip, and how much it got shared around Facebook and stuff. People love that stuff. They love, and the way that they portray it too, it's so stupid, because they make it look really fun. They include all the clips of all of us like smiling and having fun, and all the rad driving clips. Like there had been a team out there, Team Kamikaze, that earlier had been on the same show for some of their street drifting videos, and I watched it, and it was like, let's say it was a 2-minute clip, like a minute of it was just actual driving footage of them drifting on the back roads, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Like imagine your team gets all this exposure on national television. Like that's pretty cool. And they're still out there doing it. The friends that were involved were really excited to have the coverage, and I think the only upset part of it was that the wrong teams were getting credit for all the driving. So kind of a weird, funny story, but now I've been coined LZ, as they call me in Australia. But it was just so funny, the clips that they pulled out of it and the way that this news channel twisted everything. I didn't actually make a video about it. A lot of other people did, kind of talking about the situation or even re-uploading the news clip, just because I didn't know what was going to happen, and I really like Australians and Australia, and I didn't want to blow it up too much more. I haven't been back to Australia yet, but I am going back later this year because we're gonna do some like events and stuff out there. I'm thinking about doing some like merchandise that kind of like ties into the whole like joke of the situation and stuff. And they have these crazy events called Power Cruise. I don't know if you're familiar with any of the Australian stuff. They just build these crazy high horsepower cars, and you go out on a proper like road course track. So picture road Atlanta, but then picture like 100 cars out at a time that are all rear wheel drive, big turbo V8 cars, just cruising around next to each other, doing rolling burnouts and like power slides around corners. No helmets, some people not even wearing seat belts, like next to cars, cell phones out the windows, like the most reckless thing in the world, but somehow nobody crashes, nobody gets hurt. And it's just really cool and different. And like on the straights, people will kind of drag race too. So you'll kind of cruise around the track, line up with people, and then they'll go and drag race on the straight. There's something else over there. But man, it was just the funniest thing to ever happen. And now I'm known as LZ, and I am the ringleader of the Mexican Hoon cartel, since all of them are arrested now.
We'd like to thank Vincero Watches for supporting VINwiki this month. Vincero makes bold, stylish, and well-priced watches out of exceptional materials, and there's a link in the description below for a discount. So check out their website and find the watch that helps make the statement that you want the world to see.